Are we optimizing for the outputs or the inputs?
Well,
If
yeah.
we're optimizing for the inputs, we're going to require butts and seats where we can look at them, right?
Right.
If we're optimizing for outputs, we are paying very close attention to the things that we are expecting. You have to inspect what you expect.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, did we do the thing? And to be able to say back to the person, well done, you did the thing. Here is that bonus. Here is that incentive pay. Here is like the next opportunity for you because of the work that you've done so far.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Tyler Sellhorn is a teaching-oriented technologist. He creates and cultivates digital workplaces that produce results. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sam. It is a pleasure to be here learning out loud with you and your audience.
Absolutely. The pleasure is mine. Tyler, there are 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show. In 90 seconds or less, can you tell me, where did you start? Where are you now? And how did you get there?
I started out as a teaching or a technology-oriented teacher, teaching secondary mathematics. Then I made a pivot, as a middle-aged person to becoming a teaching-oriented technologist as a customer success manager for B2B SaaS companies, helping companies be successful working remotely using software. And where am I now? I am busy doing that on a much more general way. So if you're listening today and you're looking, you know what? It would be nice to have not just a workplace, but workplaces, right? Including the digital space. I'm someone who can help you do that.
Man, that's really, really cool. I know this will be relevant to our listeners in the commercial real estate space just because our teams are so geographically diverse.
That's right.
I mean, gosh, we have a almost $50 million portfolio and I work from home.
That's right.
Team members work from home. And it's like, okay, like how
you're all from your own individual facilities, right? I mean, and you're not there on site, managing that person. They're being trusted with responsibility and authority to act on your behalf, on the company's behalf in those places that they happen to be.
Correct. Right. And it's funny. There's part of me that likes it and part of me that hates it. Like I was kind of looking at it right now and I'm like, because we're scaling, especially here on our local operations in the laundry facility side of things. And I'm like, man, it's almost time where we've got to have an office because we're missing some components that face to face. I mean, I don't care how many Zoom meetings we have. I don't care how many KPI calls I have with various team members throughout the week, going through the reviews. There's nothing like just that camaraderie of face to face, and it cuts both ways. But
the way I express it is that the async time is about the work, and the synchronous time is about the connection. And then the in-person time, that's about those bonding moments where we're slapping backs, we're high-fiving, we're hearing the echo of our laughter against the walls, right? We're doing those things that can only be done face-to-face, in person, right? These monkey brains have got to primate sometimes. And it's really important that we do all of those things. It's a both and situation. It's spectrums, not squabbling over returning to the office. It's flexibility, not fights over when work should get done.
Right. No, I love it. I love it. And you threw out a bunch of things there in your 90-second intro, which thanks for keeping that. That was probably 50 seconds. So that was well under time. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. You made it, man. You crossed the finish line before everybody else. But no, seriously, there were some things that you threw in there. We're commercial real estate people on this show. So you threw in like B2B SaaS and this and that and the other. And I'm like, Tyler, I have no idea what you just said. So maybe you can break some of that down for going back to monkey brains. Like me to tell a little bit more color on what it is you do, and then we'll get into some more weeds. So anyway, I'd love to hear that.
It's really important to make all of those implicit things that used to come along with being in the same office every day at the same times, right? That kind of came along for the ride, that were like assumed by everyone that showed up there, that this is when we do work, this is how we do it, this is how I communicate. And now that we're in a much more distributed and flexible environment, sometimes the scary remote word, right? Right. You have to become much more explicit about the wheres and whens and hows we communicate and get things done. that's where the tension and frustration come in, where you're saying to yourself, I really liked this office thing that I used to have, right? Well, what is it that you liked about it? Well, the only way that those things are going to exist in a distributed environment is if you make a plan and execute on that plan and then reflect on whether or not you actually accomplished the outcome that you were seeking. And sometimes it's going to require being in person. Very often you see, so I've worked in globally distributed customer experience teams. I led a team of 25 people from Seattle to Melbourne,
Jeez.
Right? And we saw each other once a year together, optionally.
Okay.
Right? So one of the things that's really important to recognize is that when you are operating in that way that says, okay, we may or may not be present with one another, how you gather those KPIs that you're talking about and how you talk about them and where they're posted and how we can access them, there needs to be a process that is really, really explicit. That's down bullet points, sub bullets, right? How do we do these things? And once you have that rock solid, you can start with a shared reality of how things are. And then you can iterate from there to continue to improve.
When you say shared reality, what do you mean by that?
I mean, this is our number. This is your number that impacts that number. And everyone gets to see, right? How are we doing? How do we have this shared accountability? We're not hitting our number because so-and-so is not hitting their number. Right? How do we communicate those things to say on a regular cadence? When do we look at these numbers? And even just having the, very often you have a leaderboard, right, in a sales team, right, and saying, who's up top. Right. You can think of the always be closing, right? Mm-hmm. If you're in third, you're getting a new job type of thing. Maybe it doesn't need to be that hard-nosed and like cutthroat, but I do think that having a shared accountability of what we are doing and how that contributes to that one number or set of numbers that you have, where is that shared workplace that has that number where everyone can see it? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's in your physical workplace, like you're in your home office. Maybe you have a spot that has the number displayed, or maybe it's a dashboard inside of your Google workspace that says, okay, I can always go to this link and find the information that I'm trying to, contribute towards. Oh, I moved the number today, and there we go. And for your boss to say, well done, you contributed to the number today. Way to go. If you're not doing that on a regular cadence or even having it something that can be accessed whenever, wherever, you need to start doing that. Right.
Right. Yeah. I think that's one of the cool things about the distributed workplace is the ability for people to kind of work at their own pace and at their own times. Like I've got team members that, she works, and again, I don't need this position filled full time. So, she works maybe 20 hours a week, and it's usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Mm-hmm. And today she's like, hey, you know what? By the way, I'm working today and not tomorrow. Okay, I don't care. As long as you're getting your stuff done.
That's right.
That's fantastic. She's like, hey.
What are we optimizing for, Sam? Are we optimizing for the outputs or the inputs? Well, if we're optimizing for the inputs, we're going to require butts and seats where we can look at them. Right?
Right.
If we're optimizing for outputs, we are paying very close attention to the things that we are expecting. You have to inspect what you expect. Yeah. You have to be able to say, did we do the thing? And to be able to say back to the person, well done, you did the thing. Here is that bonus. Here is that incentive pay. Here is like the next opportunity for you because of the work that you've done so far.
So you're switching from, input to output measurements. Secondary mathematics was a very input measurement. Yes, you measured test scores, but it was butts in seats for X number of days a year. To count.
Yeah, it was as co-located as it gets, Sam. There were bells telling us to go from one mandatory meeting to another mandatory meeting with none of the people that we would have chosen to be with if it was up to us.
Oh gosh.
Right. And wow. I think, here in my second career, right, I'm starting to like, take off some of those layers of trauma. Right. and like, I'm starting to identify with those students that really did not want to be there. Right. Yeah, Sam, you maybe identify as that kind of a person, right? School wasn't for you, right? And so I think that's one of the things that we need to transition from is this one size fits all, like 1965, industrial age kind of version of things to a one size fits one version of things where, hey, Sam is building a business that's his and according to his lights and setting the course and setting the sales by his own decision-making and, getting to the destination he chose to or not based upon his own efforts. I think that we're moving more and more towards that future.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, we're kind of moving off center topic, but I think it's important because one thing, it's not that I hate to learn. I love learning. I just couldn't stand sitting at a desk to do it. Like,
that's
oh
right.
Gosh, this is awful. So no, I think we've seen that in the education space as I mean, obviously you can learn anything you want on the internet now for a fraction of what it would cost to sit your butt in a seat for an entire semester and learn that same exact thing. So pretty cool. What do you say are the top maybe 2 or 3 problems that companies come to you to solve, and how do you solve them?
Number one is getting disparate systems to talk to each other.
What do you mean?
Right. I mean, you have a Gmail address. How do I get the information that I need to come into my inbox? Right. I have this system. You've got, inventory for the laundry business, right? How do I know when I need to know it that we need to purchase more detergent? Right. I mean that may be, or I know that these systems are about to break, right? I don't want to have to pay attention to that. I want to be notified of that automatically. Those are the kinds of systems that I help set up so that, and also related to people, or also related to, hiring, also related to, customer inquiries. These are the kinds of things that can be automated or at least automated to the point where all it requires is a click or a set of clicks. Those are the kinds of operational know-hows that I'm being very, very tool agnostic here, but you can think of specific systems like in the B2B SaaS space, like a huge one would be like Slack. How do I get my Slack inbox to have all the information that I need without having to go to all the different apps, get all the apps to talk to it, right? I used email earlier, right? How do I get all the apps to talk to my email inbox so I don't have to be all over the place? I can click from the inbox and then come back there. How do I get my one app to be the trunk of the knowledge tree? Or how do I get a system to be like, okay, well, I'm going to update this process on a regular cadence or based upon the information that came in, and the robots are watching instead of me, right? Because having a robot teammate, letting the computers, it turns out that computers can do stuff, Sam, and very few people understand this at a deep level, and I do.
Right. Is that the technologist background in you coming out?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I built x86 computers in the basement with my dad. Like, we were one of the first 1,000th CompuServe customers, or eventually AOL, right?
Right.
I mean, these are things that I know what a 14.4 baud modem sounds like, not just a 56K, right? So all of that stuff is, things that are in my wheelhouse, right? I know what a terminal is, app scripts, right? These are things that are pretty nerdy, and I'm happy to be your computer nerd.
That's awesome. So you saw the technology, or what'd you say, getting disparate systems to talk to each other. That's the first thing that you do. And what, just make me feel good here, because part of me thinks it's just us at the small little podunk scale we are that sucks at these things. I would imagine it's not true.
It's across the entire spectrum of work.
That's crazy.
Enterprises are purchasing software that is very expensive and then not using a fraction, maybe not using it at all.
Wow.
Right? It's really quite scary how few people actually engage with the robot teammates that have been purchased for them.
Right.
And I mean this on a very, very small level. You have the cheapest laptop that exists. There are things that it can do for you that you didn't even know was possible. And it's really, really great stuff and could make your life easier. And you don't have to think about that anymore. Well, because robots should do the robotic things, and people can show up then as creative, empathetic humans that are engaging with other humans to get them to buy or to get them the help that they need. To be able to succeed and feel good about their what they're trying to accomplish. That's what we want to be able to do in our businesses.
Awesome. So you solved that problem first and foremost. What's the second thing that you like to solve?
Second thing is the change management surrounding that. So first of all, we want to get things, I was hinting at this in the previous answer, right? But the first part is getting things to talk to each other. Now, how do I make use of that in a way that is going to be able to actually accomplish the outcome I'm seeking? Right. So it's the change management part where it's like, okay, we've got the system set up. Now, how do I use it well? Right. Because there is that human element, right? And it's to say, okay. And then I would say the third piece that I really bring to bear, right, is that team level agreement, right? And maybe that's just with yourself if you're an individual, or it's with your team, or it's across your entire company, is to say, okay, when am I working? And you've already communicated this already with someone that's assisting you. They work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they communicate with you when they're going to work on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday, right? That's a very, very basic thing that like would be not obvious to everyone to say like, oh, I should like, first of all, have a working schedule that is communicated, right? And that if it changes, I need to say something about that. Like those kinds of explicit statements about how we're going to work together, I help build that stuff as well.
Right. No, that's so important. So very important. I love it. So you solved some three, and they're interconnected systems, but yet very different. I would think across the board.
The bits have got to talk to the other bits, right? And then you've got to be able to use that system that you've set up, and then you've got to be able to communicate with others about it.
Right. When a company is looking, no matter what the size, when they're looking at bringing on new team members, and maybe they don't have a distributed workforce, what are some proper groundwork things, and again, maybe, there are some simple solutions, Slack, getting, I hate email, by the way, Tyler, can I just say that?
Hey, I think that's the thing that when I was saying one size fits all to one size fits one, when we work in an increasingly screen-based, business, right? It's really, really important to recognize that 100% of what you look at in that screen has been chosen by you.
Yep.
It's really, really easy to blame other people about what's on your screen.
Yep.
And if you don't like email, stop using email.
I'm doing my best, buddy. I promise you. Training our team members to not email me. I'm like, just don't use Slack. We have channels for this. We have Slack.
That's exactly right. And I think you should be, let me just give you some direct instruction right away, is that you should have an autoresponder for every one of your teammates set up in your email to say, I will not respond to you in this is in the wrong place. There should be an automated message that has the correct URL to be sent back to them based upon like a best guess. Like you can even you can teach the AI to like read the message and suggest the URL that you would assume is the correct channel that they should be posting it.
Right. Yeah. Because if it's an operations question, if it's an HR question, if it's if it's a content question, yeah, man, that's
first of all, don't email me. Second of all, here's a suggested place to put this instead. I will not be replying to this email.
No email. Amen to that, man. I need more of you in my life, Tyler. This is impressive. So as you said, though, every team is different. Every setup is different. A company, let's say they're looking to grow and they're looking to bring on some key team members. Are there people that you just simply have to have at the home office, or is there a way to do it completely distributed? What's your thoughts?
I think it needs to work for that company. So you need to do the deep reflection and consideration for yourself. Will I need to be able to lay eyes on this person ever?
Right.
Once a quarter, once a month, once a week, every day.
Right.
Like you as the business leader need to decide what is going to work for you.
Yeah.
And that is going to inform how you show up, right? Because Sam Wilson and Tyler Sellhorn are completely different business leaders. I would much rather hire somebody that's awake when I'm asleep, and we touch base once in the morning and once in the evening if needed, right? Whereas, maybe for you want somebody local. You want somebody that you can take out for a coffee, right? And just say what's up. Right. And that is going to inform how you show up in the talent marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, obviously this probably goes without being said, but it's also role dependent because there are roles that I don't ever, I mean, I've had somebody work for me for 8 years and we've never even talked on the phone. I mean, like you said, they're awake when I'm asleep and vice versa. And in this case, we did email, which has been my new push to get rid of email, but we did email. So I admit,
Sure.
but
But I think even saying that, like, okay, there's going to be certain kinds of communication that I do here, right? Versus another place, right?
Right.
Email might be for external partners. And if you are internal, we're going to have a trigger based on the domain that this came from.
That's it.
Okay. Now we got it sorted.
Right. Yeah. I certainly, under no circumstances, can tell my equity investors that are writing 6-figure checks, "Hey, buddy, you can't email me." Not a chance. I'm like, yes,
Right.
gladly be responding to your email. Like,
thank you, sir. May I have another?
May I have another? I am at your disposal. Yeah. I mean, those are different conversations for different times. So I like the way that you think through that. But again, going back to kind of the question, obviously building it to where it makes sense for that different organization. We talked a little bit about the things that you try to solve up front, but are there things that people should be looking at or thinking about kind of from a more holistic perspective as they look to grow from a distributed workforce perspective? I mean, is there things you go, man, these are some just common pitfalls that I really think if you got it right before you launched into this would really solve some problems?
Number one, do not assume that the message you sent and intended was the one that was received and understood. Start with centering the other's understanding and how they will receive that message. So business leaders they might be email people, or they might be Slack people, or they might never record themselves.
Right.
But I invite all of you listening to, number one, record yourself on video and provide a summary of what you said, a concise transcript and a full transcript, and record your tone of voice, record your facial expression, like give the full, be omni-channel. Like we talk about being that kind of a business, whether it's e-commerce or whether it's, like the different kinds of properties we own, right? We want to be able to diversify the kinds of offerings we have. Well, you need to do that in your communication. So if it's really, really important that this one message gets communicated, go full bandwidth, right? Don't back up from providing every single person their preferred mode of understanding what you have to say. Because some people are only ever going to read the bullets. Right. And some people are going to read the full transcript and then read it again. And then maybe one more pass, they'll get it understood. Yeah. And they won't ever watch your video. Other people will only watch your video. And but like, if you don't do those things, if you don't provide those things, the message you're intending to send may or may not be understood. And then the second piece to tack onto that is to check for that understanding.
How do you do that?
You ask.
Okay.
What did you hear me saying? What do you what when you read that the other day, like what did you take away? Right?
Yeah.
Hey, and also be willing to repeat yourself without annoyance, without judgment.
Right.
Right? If it's that important, it's worth saying again in a different way, in a way that they will understand. Center the understanding, center the receiver's understanding of your message.
I love that. Yeah. And that's actually something, again, going back to my hate of email. I send a ton of video email. I use Screencast-O-Matic. I think it's called Screen Pal. So it's a little link right inside of your email. Man, I send verbal replies all the time because I can do it in a fraction of the time. I just record and say, "Hey, Tyler, man, hey, thanks for sending the email. Just want to get back to you on this. Here's a minute-long video." I have not started sending it does auto transcript. I've not thought about attaching that. I'm a big, if I listen to a podcast, it's by reading the transcript. Like I can get on your website, and if you got transcripts for your podcast, which we do for all of our shows, but it's like I can read that transcript in about 4 minutes. Yep. I can get the whole thing. I'm like, okay, cool. It's a 28-minute podcast. I just got it in 4 minutes. And I learned everything that I probably would have listened if I got in. Of course, you missed the intonation in reading that. But either way, it's like you're saying when you're communicating with team members, distributed workforces, doing all of those things, they can pick it up in the channels in which, or in the methods in which it makes sense to them. So I love it. Tyler, this has been a blast having you on the show today. I love the energy that you bring behind the mic. That's hard to come by, honestly. Right. As a host, I've done 800 and something of these episodes, and you probably rank in the top 10 of energy behind the mic. So thanks for doing that. This is a blast.
I've got enthusiasm to burn and happy to share it with you and your audience.
Absolutely. If our listeners want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, what is the best way to do that?
I'm most active on LinkedIn, and the place to get connected to me there is tsell.link, tsell.link.
tsell.link. We'll make sure we include that there in the show notes. Tyler, thank you again for your time today. I do appreciate it.
Great to talk with you, Sam.
Hey, thanks for listening to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate podcast. If you can do me a favor and subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever platform it is you use to listen, if you can do that for us, that would be a fantastic help to the show. It helps us both attract new listeners as well as rank higher on those directories. So appreciate you listening. Thanks so much, and hope to catch you on the next episode.